The thing about tragedy, and infidelity is a tragedy. You can call it whatever you want, try and dress it up, but it is a tragedy for what it does to the betrayed spouse, what it does to families, what it does to relationships, churches, companies, businesses. We could go on and on. You're experiencing it firsthand. I don't feel like I have to go on and on. But it's a tragedy for what it also does to ourselves. I know that for me, looking back, putting the pieces together, infidelity was an immense tragedy that I brought upon my own life that I hate for what it did to me, what it did to Samantha, what it did to our family, but what it could have done also to our family. And by the grace of God and due to Samantha's character and kindness and willingness to forgive me, we were able to minimize it and miss divorce and separating our family and all that stuff. It's different for both spouses, but yet the same. Here's what I mean. I had to learn who I really was and who I wanted to be in light of the gross, horrific failure that I had brought upon my life. I did it to me. I don't blame anybody but myself. Samantha had to start to learn who she wanted to be because she had been reduced to ashes. In all honesty, and I'll ask her to speak about this sometime soon if I can get her back in, there was a realization that she didn't want to be the way she was any longer in regards to just a few character issues and the way she saw the world and the way she saw each other, the way she looked at marriage. There was going to be some change and she knew it. But as any betrayed spouse knows, if you've been a betrayed spouse for about 48 hours, you can understand this principle. There was this pain, this agony of, this is all I have been for X amount of years, and now I'm standing to lose all of that, maybe, or at least most of that. And it was this cruel, overwhelming sense of, who am I? I may have told this story years ago in the videos, but I'll tell it again for the point is that there was a time I was driving in the middle of nowhere with a new career, trying to go meet with this gentleman about selling his property. And it was just a dark time, and I was so discouraged and alone and hopeless. And a song came on the radio. Now, this song came on the radio by a very popular artist who had actually had one or two of his songs and actually his album recently become a gold album. And he and I did not like each other. And there was a conference that we were at before, and he was told not to go beyond a certain point on the stage and bring all these people up. And so I got in this big fight with him afterwards and told him, you needed to listen to me. I told you not to do that, and blah, blah, blah. And here I am in the middle of nowhere, broke as a bad joke, trying to restart my life. And I've invited disaster into my life. And here's this guy on the radio with the gold album. And I remember just going, man, who am I? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? Am I just going to be a piece of crap, wasteoid that just was someone one time and now just a total disaster? Or is there any hope for me? Samantha had her own run-in with this type of alienation as she was out one day and she was talking to someone that walked up and said, hey, you look so familiar to me, and what's your name? And she said her name, and then she said, what's your last name? And she said her last name, and the woman went, oh yeah, that's where I know you from. And it was the most hurtful, passive-aggressive thing ever. Samantha, it was so early on, Samantha hadn't gotten her feet underneath her, if you will, and she just started to cry and grabbed the kids and walked away. We didn't know who we were. And I'm pretty confident that many of you, in light of the infidelity that you are walking through, has probably caused you to go, man, who am I? This life that I've had is no longer possibly that life, or will never look like that life again. I know, this is a lot to unpack. Here's what I had to do. For me, if I was going to decide who I wanted to be, if I was going to build on the best of me that was still there, and if I was going to eradicate the worst of me, or at least starve the worst of me, I had to, number one, admit who I had become and embrace that that was me. I don't believe, oh, that wasn't me, that was a form of me, and oh, that was just not my best self, and all, and explain away and all that. Look, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to tell you that was me. I was an ass. I allowed myself to become that. Yes, there was factors and all that stuff, but I was that person, and I never want to be that person again. But before I could try and identify who I wanted to be and the kind of man I wanted to be, dad, husband, father, friend, speaker, and on and on and on, I had to embrace who I had become. And I had to then start to recalibrate and do work that would help me be the man I wanted to be. Because let's face it, I now had the best chance I had been given in decades, because I had lost everything. Everything that I was had been lost, and that was okay. It didn't feel like it was okay. I hated it. I despised it. I cried about it. But it was actually okay, because it gave me the opportunity to rebuild from my own personal ground zero. For Samantha, it was different, because she was uncertain with how I was going to respond. So it was harder for her, because she was kind of like, am I going to be a divorced mom with 3 kids? Am I going to be in a relationship that's salvaged? And that was really challenging. But she was able to say, well, look, here's what I do know. I never want to be this person again. I'm not going to be that type of wife ever again. And this is going to help me be far more in touch with people who are hurting and broken and desperate. And I'm no longer living in these goggles of, oh, I just have that white picket fence and we've got everything fine and we're just in the matrix. She decided she was never going to be that way again. Here's the muscle of this for you. You can rebuild. You're going to rebuild. You have to rebuild, and that's okay. It hurts like hell. I completely get it. But there's a new you. And this is going to give the opportunity for a new you to come forward. Sure, there's going to be some old patterns and old mannerisms, and sure, not everything about you was horrible. Those things can be kept. Those things can be redeemed. Those things about you that were actually positives can be brought to a point of healthiness that's amazing, but there's a lot of you that you specifically, as an unfaithful, need to let go of and decide you're never going to use again. You're never going to go back to that again. You're not going to let that be a part of the new you. Now, there have been times where Samantha and I were extremely wealthy. And then there's been times where we were very close to a food line at a food bank. And just the other day, we were kind of wrestling with, look, we're trying to pay for 2 kids in college. I mean, it's just absurd, the expenses, and many of you know what that's like. And I said this to her, and she said her heart fluttered. I said, honey, I don't care if we're broke. As long as I get to be broke with you, I'm fine being broke. I just want to do life. I just want to be with you, whatever it looks like. That stopped her dead in her tracks. Because it made her remember, wait, we're not the same people we used to be. I hope you're not the same people that you used to be. I hope that you are finding the new, building the new, not reaching back for the old. The old is gone. I know it's sad, but that's okay. The new can be phenomenal. I promise you, full of joy, full of life, full of oneness, full of connection, full of healthiness. Don't worry about finances and all that stuff. Look, it's about finding the new you. If your marriage is able to be restored, fantastic. If not, you're going to be okay. If you have to divorce, you're going to be okay. You're going to find that new you. And he or she is going to be healthy and strong and confident and is going to be at peace with themselves because they have wrestled through all of the different victories that they need to win. You can win today. You can come out on the other side.